is
7 a.m. and a half, and it's now time for the Morning Watch with Dr. Dionne Toussaint. The Morning Watch today is brought to you by Chris and Charles.
Power in great moments. If you have financial needs, Chris and Charles will fix them for you. Power in great moments since 1992. Oh, we have it all. Power in great moments. Relax, you got Chris and Charles. Oh, we have it all. When you think alone, think Chris and Charles.
Listeners to Love 101 FM are advised that the views and opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily those of Love 101 FM.
Hello and welcome to the Morning Watch on Love 101 FM. I'm your host, Dionne Toussaint. A special welcome to our listeners on love101.org, and if you're overseas or on the move, U.S. listeners can access us at 712-832-8001. And if you're in the UK, 0330-332-6541, or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also join us on Love 101 FM Facebook and YouTube Live. In the first watch today, Mother says God will heal her son. The gospel versus the gavel. And in the second watch, Motorbike Safety, Facts and Fallacies. For our social media feedback, we are asking you to share your short stories of dangerous motorcycle behavior on our roads that you have witnessed or experienced. We're also asking you to send those responses on our Love 101 FM Facebook page and YouTube channel, and also on WhatsApp 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll share your responses later on in the program, but before all of that, here's I quote.
This morning's I quote says, "Being happy never goes out of style." And this is by Lily Pulitzer. Being happy never goes out of style.
Good morning, Jokal.
Good morning, good morning.
Yes, an interesting quote there.
Definitely. Being happy will never go out
Never
of style.
go out of
Always
style.
in season.
Yeah.
Always in trend.
Yes. I just speak about season and trend and style. Our second watch is about motorbiking. Have you ever rode a motorbike?
Never in life. I rode an ATV. An ATV, a four-wheeler, but not a bike. No.
Not a bike.
No.
Because I understand they say there's nothing quite like it.
I'm fine on my 2 feet.
Well, I rode one twice, or rode on one twice. And it was interesting.
I can imagine. I'll pass though. I'll pass.
Okay. The first watch will be back after this break.
Need a holiday? Book your tax holiday by using your Sagicor Bank Business Credit Card to pay your taxes. You'll get a 1-month payment holiday. Conditions apply.
There's certain moments in life you'll cherish forever. Like buying your first car, stepping into your first home, sending your child to university, starting that business you've always dreamed of. These are your great moments, and helping you achieve them is ours. Call Chris and Charles today. We have a loan for all the great moments in your life. Powering great moments since 1992. When you think loans, think Chris and Charles.
The New Testament Church of God Jamaica Music and Worship Unit presents the lead singers with director Dr. Brad Moffat and Nadine Blair in Perpetual Sounds of Praise in a night of worship and song at the Eastwood Park New Testament Church of God, 51 Eastwood Park Road. Admission is free. Youths roll out in your numbers. Friday, March 10 at 7 p.m. at the Eastwood Park New Testament Church of God. It's the lead singers from Lee University in Jamaica. Make we show them some warm Jamaican welcome.
Your health is your wealth, so come we start the conversation. Make we rise and immunize all across the nation. The ministry is giving us the motivation to get your infants routine immunization. Protect the toddlers from all diseases. Tetanus, rubella, whooping cough, and the measles. Polymyelitis, mumps, and the flu, plus tuberculosis, to name a few. Rise to immunize. Eliminating diseases saves lives. Visit your nearest clinic or health center for more information, or log on to www.mohgov.jm.
A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness and the Pan American Health Organization, funded with a contribution from the United States of America.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dionne Toussaint. Recently, the Office of the Children's Advocate, OCA, sought the court's intervention as a mother denied her son medical attention in favor of divine intervention. After going to court, in an unprecedented move, the Supreme Court sanctioned chemotherapy and surgery for the young cancer patient. Our thoughts and prayers are for that boy and the rest of the family. In the meantime, while we won't be discussing this particular case, we want to explore the circumstances surrounding this interesting story. And in so doing, we have online Mr. Michael Diamond, attorney at law, and Pastor Dionne Lindo Witter, pastor of the Shalom Deliverance Center in Clarendon. Good morning to you both.
Good morning, Sir Toussaint, and good morning to your listeners.
Yes, I think that is Mr. Diamond. Pastor Lindo Witter.
Good morning, good
Pastor
morning.
Witter. Yes, good morning to you.
Yes.
Okay, good to have you both with us. All right, ladies and gentlemen, what are your opening thoughts on the mentioned story, without commenting, of course, on the case itself? Your opening thoughts begin with you, Pastor Lindo Witter.
Well, I am very surprised at this action. To me, it's a frightening precedence, that parental authority or parental rights seem to be superseded by the state. It's frightening.
Sorry, Pastor Lindo Witter, could you speak more into the instrument? Are you saying that you're surprised? It's frightening. What is so?
Yes, that's exactly. Because it seems to me that as an encroachment on person's choice. It's not as if there was a set law that is being violated in a sense. Understand what I'm saying?
We're going to look into that.
Right, it's an exercise of one's choice, which is taken away.
And the choice you're talking about, of course, is the parent's choice in regards to her.
Yes, that's the parent's choice.
Okay. Well, you say you are surprised at it. Why is that so much a surprise?
Maybe because we are on Jamaican soil, and because surely we know that there are certain shifts and changes that are taking place in a international sense, but you always felt that you have a certain freedom and a basic understanding of how we treat with issues like these in this country. So that is why I am surprised. It's as if it has arrived on our doorstep, in a sense.
Interesting. Mr. Diamond, your opening thoughts on that without going into the case itself?
Okay. One of the things that we want to be very mindful of is that, striking a balance where religious preferences are concerned and where the court or the state has a legal and moral obligation for the preservation of life. This is it is not a one-off decision for a court to make, and this usually happens after extensive deliberation and the presentation of the evidence by the medical professionals to demonstrate that this intervention is highly likely to preserve the life of the child or of an individual, because this is not something that is one off. There are other cases where individuals, place, of course, their religious preference in a situation, especially where blood transfusion is concerned. And the courts had to rule in those situations. And it's not always against what the individual wish, but nevertheless, where the evidence is present, it's quite a balance to strike, especially where life is concerned. So, this situation is one that, of course, is going to be discussed for quite some time to see whether or not the state was actually trumping and encroaching upon the church's jurisdiction. But nevertheless, again, at the center of it, we have to remember that, we're discussing a life situation and not just, an individual's practice.
Interesting. Pastor Lindo Witter, what are the basic teachings of your church in regards to faith, sickness, and healing? That might help you to understand where you're coming from.
But may I just say that it seems as if Mr. Diamond was talking about the church. So we have passed the mother to maybe where she congregate, but I was addressing the individual choice. No, it's based on your faith, even as you are now asking about the teaching. But I was first looking at the fact that it was a choice being exercised by the mother herself. No,
and you're saying that's regardless of religious belief and all of that. That's what you're saying?
No, I know that according to the basis that you started off with, that story, that the lady was making her choice based on her faith.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? But nevertheless, it's not an issue with the church and the state. It's this lady and her son exercising certain choices concerning his health. However, in response to your question, we believe in the Bible, so we believe that God intervenes in the lives of human beings, and that intervention includes the healing of the body. You understand what I'm saying? So that's what we believe. We believe that God is a supernatural, miracle working being, and that He heals sicknesses and diseases.
Yes. And does, in your belief, your church belief, what is the role of medicine, doctors in that regard?
Well, let me just tell you.
Okay. All right. Let me give you a chance to catch your breath after the break. We'll be right back. We'll have your response after the break, Pastor.
Here is a message from the Heart Foundation of Jamaica. Let's get unhealthy foods and beverages out of our schools. The time, courtesy of the Heart Foundation of Jamaica, is
7:15 a.m.
Tasty cheese for every moment, this is the season. And there could be no other reason. One thing will bring the family and friends them closer. I must taste the cheese, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. One taste is all you need that you never let go. Tasty cheese, 1 in a million, you know how we go. Just can't get enough, I need more than one slice. Tasty cheese make all the moments then nice.
Easter's never the same without tasty cheese. So go ahead, share those special moments with Tasty Cheese, the cheese for every moment.
If you're a farmer or a fisher folk, this one's for you. Sagicor AgriCare Plan. With AgriCare Plan, you can get affordable insurance coverage for you and your family. Life insurance, critical illness coverage, or health insurance for as little as $1,700 every 3 months. Visit SagicorAgriCare.com to learn more. Farmers and fisher folk, get the insurance coverage your family deserves today with Sagicor AgriCare Plan.
For 51 years, Under the Law has been helping you to know your rights and how the laws of Jamaica can help you defend those rights. The program is brought to you on Tuesdays by the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries, Grow Smart, Eat Smart, and on Thursdays by the National Compliance and Regulatory Authority, Health, Safety, and Fairness in Trade. Under the Law at 6:20 a.m., 2:35, 6:45, and 9:10 p.m. on Love 101 FM.
Power in great moments. If you have financial needs, Chris and Charles will fix them for you. Power in great moments since 1992. Oh, we have it all. Power in great moments. Relax, you got Chris and Charles. Oh, we have it all. When you think alone, think Chris and Charles.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dionne Toussaint. And in this, the first watch, we're looking at the whole matter of the gospel versus the gavel in regards to a story where a mother says God will heal her son and the court overrode that choice and decision. In so doing, we have online Pastor Dionne Lindo Witter, pastor of the Shalom Deliverance Center, and Mr. Michael Diamond, attorney at law. Before the break, Pastor Lindo Witter, I was asking you about the role as you see it in regards to medicines and doctors.
Okay, right. So I was going to make a disclaimer that I am not I'm not sitting in representing the denomination in that sense that I'm an official voice for the denomination. But in terms of what the Bible teaches, there's always incidents and records of persons consulting with doctors in the Bible. And I must say that there are several occasions where it is just completely unfavorable in a sense, because when Asa was diseased in his feet, the Bible said he did not consult with the Lord, but rather with the physicians. And of course, that illness was never fixed by the doctors. And the woman with the issue of blood who suffered for 12 years, the Bible said that she had gone to physicians and exhausted all her economic means of that kind of treatment. And instead of getting better, she rather grew worse. You know, I know that it has become very faddish to, in a sense, tweak the gospel to accommodate an idea that persons would say God heals through surgery and through medicine and through doctors, you know. But honestly, if we were to sit and do a systematic study of the Word of God, it would be very difficult to support that kind of claim. I believe persons are speaking as an afterthought or after the fact, in terms of maybe somebody might have gone to the doctor and was treated by the doctor, and they apparently improved. You understand what I'm saying? But to use that now and transpose on this idea that God is healing through the doctors or through the medicine is another idea.
Okay, so just to be clear, you are not for using doctors, medicine, surgery, and all of that. Just believe. You just believe that God will heal.
All right, let me put it.
Diamond.
Yes. Let me put it this way. I would never tell anybody to throw away their medicine, or if they feel sick and they are persuaded that they need a doctor's attention, I would never tell them not to go to the doctor. I am just saying, don't transfer your faith to the doctor.
Mm.
You understand what I'm saying?
Go to the doctor,
in the book of James, in the book of James, and this is New Testament. He said, call on the elder of the church and let them anoint the sick person with oil and pray, and the prayer of faith will heal the sick. That's a direct promise, that's not a suggestion.
Yes, it did not say doctor. It didn't say you must go to the doctor, go to the elders of the church.
Call on the elders of the church. Okay. But what I'm finding out is that this kind of instruction is completely superseded by just going to the doctor. If you feel sick, go to the doctor. As soon as I say, go to the doctor. If you have a headache, take a Panadol, things like that.
Hear loud and clear. Mr. Diamond, your response to that?
It's quite interesting, and again, it's about a balance. It's about striking a balance between what is in the scriptures and what we're seeing by medical professionals. Now, striking that balance, the center of it has to be the preservation of life. Now, there's some beliefs that would lean more upon their faith when someone needs to be healed or they're not well. The reality of that situation is that once we are able to identify what that illness is, because oftentimes, there's no medical definition for what an individual is experiencing, and after fasting and praying, that individual recovered, and that can reinforce an individual's faith that it was because of their prayers that they were healed. Now, there are other conditions which we readily identify, and we're able to diagnose that there's a limitation of, if we do not intervene, what can happen. All of these are theories. Now, the reality of it is that there's an expression that says that, God does the work and doctors get the credit. The reality of the situation is that not everything can just simply sit and wait and hope prayer can help, because again, we do have instructions, and that instruction is clear that we must preserve life. So where life is at risk, we are supposed to utilize every available knowledge and information that is present in order for us to secure that. Now,
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
One of the things that
it says, go to the elders, call for the elders of the church, not go to the doctors.
And remarkably enough, and even in that scripture, it says what the elders would employ in the healing of that individual. So exactly. So what ended up happening is that olive oil has been so significant in religious practices over the centuries, and understanding the properties of olive oil for why it was used is also important, because the mere fact that he's using an oil that is in its sense an application of an ointment, which can be aka called a medicine. So the reality of the situation is that we have to find a balance, and that is what happens when the court is deciding whether or not to intervene into someone's personal choice of what kind of health care they would want to receive. So the reality of the situation is that the court is going to balance. Yes, they have religious beliefs for that individual, but they also have to look at the preservation of life. Will this intervention preserve the life of the individual that is at the center of the case? And that is usually what the courts are faced with. And it is not a one-off decision, and it's something that occurs after deliberation and the investigation of the evidence being presented.
I'm sure that Pastor wants to respond, but before she does, Mr. Diamond, just want to get clear from you the law of the land in relation to parents or guardians withholding medical care from their children for religious reasons. What really does the law state in a nutshell? Can you share that with us?
That, of course, that once you do have your religious preference, fine, the court will recognize that. But once that medical professional gives that evidence to show that without this intervention, the possibility of the loss of life is so high and great that the court will have to lean on that protection.
Oh, so it bypasses one's religious beliefs then and practices?
Absolutely. One's religious beliefs and practices does not trump the preservation of life.
Interesting. Pastor Lindo Witter, your response to what Mr. Diamond just said?
Well, I agree with you that it is interesting. Yes, I agree with you that it's a very interesting position that Mr. Diamond is putting forth, because I believe that he's leaning heavily on this concept called preservation of life. And we know for sure that many of the practices of medicine is, in a sense, experimental. There is no hard fact that necessarily these administrations are applied to a patient, that the patient's life will be preserved. And on many occasions, it goes in the other direction. You know, so to use that as the basis for a court ruling, you know, is a questionable thing, because it's a lot of experimentation. It's a what would you say, a trial and error approach in many instances, and there's no guarantee that the administration of medical paraphernalia to an individual is going to preserve their life.
You know,
so the oil thing there, how you interpret that, Pastor? Because Mr. Diamond's interpretation that it represents medicine.
And even with the reference to the olive oil, remember, no, the Bible didn't say, and the olive oil shall save the sick or heal the sick. It says the prayer of faith shall heal the sick. Because right away it seems as if the application of the olive oil is trumping the prayer of faith. And we could not, no matter how we twist the scripture, we could not get that as that is what James is purporting. You understand what I'm saying? So
yes.
It's really an interesting idea what Mr. Diamond is saying. And as I said earlier on, it shouldn't even be an issue of this sort. I believe that persons should be allowed to choose if you want to go to the doctor. That's where your headspace is.
Allow the son to die, Pastor Lindo Witter.
Yes,
if he dies, you pray the prayer of faith, believe God. If he dies, that's it.
But listen to this. That's another thing. God is sovereign, you know.
Yes.
And he did say our days are numbered. You know, death is a part of the dynamics of our living. Right. And sometimes persons get frantic. I hear Mr. Diamond say preservation of life. Yes, you know, you're not going to willingly play with the sanctity of life. But persons are going to die, and illnesses are going to kill some people.
I see a train of thought. In 20 seconds, Mr. Diamond, any response, closing remarks?
Yes, absolutely. Let's consider the fact that in the Hebrew faith, that part of our commandment says that today I place before you life and death. Choose life. And that is one of the reasons why suicide is outlawed in Judaism, and also anything that would contradict life is outlawed in Judaism. So the reality of it is that we had a commandment that clearly says choose life. So when we have the evidence to demonstrate that this intervention can happen, then we have to look to that, because again, we must always look to fulfill that commandment of preservation of life. So where we're speaking of situations where it could be a child that's even more interesting, that we have to deliberate more and seek to do what's necessary in order to preserve this child.
Okay. Lady and gentlemen, informative, insightful, and interesting discussion. I guess the discourse and the debate will continue. Thanks for joining us. Have a healthy day.
It's my pleasure. God bless you.
Bless
Always
you
a pleasure. Thank you.
Listeners, the Morning Watch will return in just a moment.
J&B Bank Small Business Loans. Tell us your business and let's turn your ambitions into reality. The time by J&B Bank Small Business Loans is
7:31.
From generation to generation, Jamaicans have depended on J&B Bank to make the pride and joy of providing a safe place for their families possible. Now, with no processing fees and no down payment mortgage options, you can open the door to your own sweet home, a legacy to hand to your next generation. Visit jnbank.com to get pre-approved today. J&B Bank will help you find a way.
Kingdom Culture presents the Well Encounter with Maverick City's Chandler Moore and Naomi Rain, Kevin Downswell, Harleen Davis, Rondell Positive, Rhoda Isabella. Tickets at sparopen.com/TWE22. Supermed Pharmacies, Sangster's Bookstore, 876-676-5953. Sponsored by Clear Sound Caledonia Outdoor Advertising, Purity Chase Fund, Love 101, Reefs KFC. Part proceeds to Food for the Poor. The Well Encounter, Saturday, March 18th, Sabina Park, 6:30 p.m. Meet us at the Well.
They're full of life. You're full of love. They're carefree. You care more. That's why we created Child Protector, a critical illness insurance plan from Sagicor Life. It provides coverage for your child in the event of 15 critical illnesses, hospitalization benefits, life insurance, and investment benefits. So make sure your child can live life to the fullest. Apply for Sagicor Child Protector today.
I've got love in my heart and are you ready for another exciting show inside Alive 1 to 5 with this Throwback Thursday, March 9? Well, join us for another time to recollect and reconnect. Stay tuned for the brain testing mental-size at 1:45. Then for prayer blast at 2 o'clock as we ring in the prayer bells of heaven. To the scene inside Pieces of the Past, we share some more historic facts with you. Then at 3 p.m., we bring you another episode of Proverbially Speaking. All this and more will come alive 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. This Throwback Thursday, March 9 on the family station, Love 101.
Give him praise, give him praise.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dionne Toussaint. Let's now look at the newspapers to see what Jamaicans and others are saying and doing. In the Gleaner, what teachers have rejected from the government. Also, DPP Bailey hail gang convictions as victory for Jamaica. In The Observer, Caribbean food security at risk from impact of disaster-related events. And also in The Observer, starting to identify new completion date for census. Look, Jamaica. We see two stories here. Effort underway to create a Jamaican chess grandmaster. Also, teachers vote to take casual leave over wage dispute with the government. Those are some of the major stories and headlines in our newspapers. Well, coming up next, we'll read some of the feedback from our social media request for you to share your short stories of dangerous motorcycle behavior on our roads that you have witnessed or experienced. And of course, you feel free, if you so desire, to also leave a comment in regards to the first watch. So you can respond to both stories, both feedback requests. And leave a comment on our Facebook page and YouTube channel, Love 101 FM Jamaica, or WhatsApp 876-997-3125. We'll be right back.
Here is your opportunity to connect with someone who will listen, pray, and give guidance. It's the Ministry of Counseling and Prayer of the Edgewater Baptist Church. Please call 876-220-6474 or 876-332-7956. Weekdays between 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. Saturdays and Sundays between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Please talk to someone if you're finding it particularly challenging to cope during this period of crisis. Someone is waiting for your call. Please reach out today, 876-220-6474 or 876-332-7956. It's the telephone counseling and prayer ministry of the Edgewater Baptist Church. A reminder that somebody cares. Endorsed by Love 101.
When I come to the end of myself, Father, carry me.
The Basketball Community and Wellness Pharmacy, in association with Meds R Us Doctor Office, is hosting a free community health fair Thursday, March 16, starting at 9 a.m. at Sir B's Complex, Main Street, Stewarttown, St. Mary, with free eye testing and doctor visit. Bring your documents for free RGD and path appointment. Sponsored by Winters Petroleum, eBay's Document and Service Hunt Limited, Meds R Us Limited, Ophthalmic Suits, Buckfield Tires, and Colonial 7-Eleven Supermarket. Love 101 FM will be live on location at 1 p.m. as Sarah Ann Edwards Miller will give us all the details. That's the Basketball Community and Wellness Pharmacy, in association with Meds R Us Doctor's Office, free community health fair, Thursday, March 16 at 1 p.m. right here on the family station, Love 101.
This love is
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dionne Toussaint. Let's now join Jukal for a look at how our Facebook, YouTube, and WhatsApp friends answered today's request for them to share responses, to share your short stories of dangerous motorcycle behavior on our roads that you have witnessed or experienced, or of course some of you may have desired to share as your thoughts on the first watch. Jukal?
All right, so we do have some responses here. I'm going to read this one. I'm not seeing a name, but it says, good morning. In my community, we only have stunt riders. Can't even begin to describe some of the styles of riding you will meet on a daily basis. From standing on the bike with hands in the air to feet, being on the gas tank, and then the wheelie thing with a crazy person on the back. Not to mention speeding past a line of traffic and not knowing what is the cause. Okay, I'm seeing a name now. It says Desreen. Sophia says, good morning. My experience is not necessarily bad riding, but the incessant noise of these bikes, even in quiet zones. I know there's a law against it, but seemingly not being forced. Yes, so those are the responses right now.
Okay, thank you. Stunt riders. All right. Okay, as we now segue into the second watch, a U.S. statistic stated that motorcyclists were about 26 times more likely than passenger car occupants to die in a crash, and 5 times more likely to be injured. In Jamaica, how motorcyclists negotiate our roads and consider their own safety, we're asking, do they do that? And is it a major concern to them, being among the highest category of road users who have been killed on our roads? Well, to discuss these concerns, we have joining us Mr. Victor Anderson, Program Coordinator of the Road Safety Unit, Mr. Marlon Chopper Fletcher, President of the Motorcyclists Association. Good morning to you both.
Morning. Thank you for having me.
Yes, good morning. Mr. Anderson, with us?
Yes, I'm here. Good morning.
Great. Good to have you both. Mr. Fletcher, I'm just curious, before we delve into the meat of our discussion, can you tell us a little bit about your organization, how long it has been in existence, membership and all of that?
Jamaica Motorcyclists Association has been in existence for approximately 7 years.
Okay.
We are a group of motorcyclists that decide that we need to come together as a body to, one, try to educate younger riders on how to operate motorcycles on our nation's road, and two, work in conjunction with the government to basically reduce the number of road fatalities.
And how does one become a member?
Well, first of all, you need to send an email to the Jamaica Motorcyclists Association. What we also do is we vet our members carefully so as to ensure that our members are the, let's say, decent set, right? And then we try to bring in others under the umbrella in terms of educating and teaching them how to operate properly on our nation's road.
Yes, operating properly on our nation's road. Mr. Anderson, from the perspective of the road safety unit, what are your major concerns with motorcyclists in Jamaica today?
Well, to begin with, motorcyclists, if you include the pillion rider along with the driver of the motorcycle,
yes,
they account for about 35% of road deaths every year. And this has been going now since about 2015. They have been the highest group dying on our road. And you see it in the way, well, when you look at how they drive the motorcycles on the road, you're not really surprised that this is the outcome, is it? Most of them don't wear helmets. Most of them wear no protective clothing at all. It's no surprise that when they crash, and they do crash because they're driving the motorcycles very fast, maneuvering down the center line of the road between lanes of vehicles and this kind of thing. It is no surprise that we have a lot of motorcyclists dying. And then add to that, generally speaking, the persons driving these motorcycles are learners. Most of them don't have motorcycle driver's licenses.
Mr. Anderson, did I hear you correctly?
The vast majority do not have motorcycle driver's licenses. They are operating using learner's permits only. Right? So they are learning as they're out there on the road and being a hazard to themselves and others. So it's no surprise that they are among the largest group of fatalities on our roads.
Mr. Fletcher, your response to those concerns raised a while ago.
All right, let's start with the learner's permit. Right? It is a gray area that has been widely overlooked by the government of Jamaica and not necessarily the rider, because prior to the new Road Traffic Act, you are allowed to operate a motorcycle with a learner's license. You're just not allowed to carry a pillion. So it is almost like they keep getting away with it because it is a gray area, right? So really and truly, you cannot blame the motorcyclist if there isn't any law in place. Because if I can buy a learner's license...
Tell you what, Mr. Fletcher, I'm so sorry. We're up on a break. Hold that thought. We want to hear more about this. We'll be right back.
Paying taxes? Use your Sagicor Bank business credit card and get a 1 month payment holiday. Conditions apply. The time by Sagicor Bank is
7:45 and 20 seconds.
It's tax season again, and the best way to pay your taxes is with your Sagicor Bank business credit card. You'll enjoy your 1 month payment holiday. Conditions apply.
I've got love in my heart and Are you ready for another exciting show inside Alive 1 to 5 this Throwback Thursday, March 9? Well, join us for another time to recollect and reconnect. Stay tuned for the brain testing mental size at 1:45. Then for prayer blast at 2 o'clock as we ring in the prayer bells of heaven. Till the scene inside Pieces of the Past, we share some more historic facts with you. Then at 3 p.m., we bring you another episode of Proverbially Speaking. All the more will come alive 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. this Throwback Thursday, March 9 on the family station, Love 101.
There's certain moments in life you'll cherish forever. Like buying your first car, stepping into your first home, sending your child to university, starting that business you've always dreamed of. These are your great moments, and helping you achieve them is ours. Call Chris and Charles today. We have a loan for all the great moments in your life. Powering great moments since 1992. When you think loans, think Chris and Charles.
Hey everybody, I'm Ashley.
I'm Jakal. I'm Victor.
I'm Chantel.
And we are
The Pulse Podcast.
You can find us every Saturday at 7 p.m. on Love 101 FM JA's YouTube channel.
Yes, 7 to 8 p.m. And ensure you follow us on social media, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram at The Pulse Podcast JA.
The Pulse Podcast, your weekly source of authentic, Jamaican, faith-based, creative content and edutainment.
Culture, creative expressions, and games. This is the Pulse Podcast.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dionne Toussaint, and in this, the second watch, we have been discussing motorbike safety as we look on the facts and fallacies and the concerns that surround that. And in so doing, we have online Mr. Marlon Fletcher, President of the Motorcyclists Association, and Mr. Victor Anderson, Program Coordinator of the Road Safety Unit. Before the break, Mr. Fletcher, you're responding to some of the concerns that were given by Mr. Anderson. And you're saying that learner's permits overlooked by the government, not the drivers, and it's a gray area in your view. Continue, sir.
Yes, so as I was saying, is that if you allow them to ride a motorcycle with a learner's license, they are going to, right? And prior to the new Road Traffic Act, you were able to ride a motorcycle with a learner's license indefinitely. You're just not allowed to carry a pillion, and you need to have a little L affixed to the bike to say that you're a learner. So it is a gray area that has been overlooked by the government for years, and I would go further to say that even the test to get a motorcycle license needs to be revamped, because really and truly, as it stands now, to get a motorcycle license, you set up 5 cones, I think, about 12 feet apart, and they go through the cones and they give an hand signal, and they come back through the cones, and basically that is it. You are issued a license. Now, if I had a say in the matter, I would have first revamped the entire testing system, and we would have introduced 2 classes of license. Right? There needs to be a street bike class of motorcycle license and a sport bike class of motorcycle license, because even now, what you find that sport bike riders, which is the bigger bikes, would use a 125cc and go and get a motorcycle license, and then go back on the sport bike. They now have a motorcycle license and go back on the sport bike. Now they don't know how to handle that speed. They don't know how to handle that bike, because it's a total different motorcycle. Lean handle, gear to wheel ratio, everything is different about that motorcycle. So these are some of the things that are the major costs of the accidents and the fatalities on our nation's road. If you should also dissect the fatalities, right, the age of the death, the people that are dying, it's between 17 and 25. If you should also check the type of motorcycle that they are riding, then you would have a starting point of the particular group of motorcycle that they need to target and offer some public education campaign to them. Because really and truly, it is the motorcycle fatality and the increase in motorcycle fatality is really subject to one particular group in terms of age and the type of motorcycles they are riding.
Yeah, I'm sure Mr. Anderson would like to comment on that. But before he does, what about the helmets, Mr. Fletcher? Not sure you mentioned that.
Law and helmet should be worn. Helmet should not be worn to avoid police or avoid a ticket. Helmet should be worn for your personal safety. I go further to say that a helmet is of no use without the strap. Let me explain. The same speed a motorcycle is traveling is the same speed your body will propel off that motorcycle upon impact.
Wow.
So if the helmet is not securely fastened to your head, once you make impact with a car, a wall, a light pole, or anything, the helmet will go east and you will go west. So you will be hitting the ground without a helmet anyway. So I go further to say that the helmet needs to be approved and it also needs to be securely fastened. There is no second guessing that.
Mr. Anderson, a mouthful there, your response?
Yes, that's quite a mouthful. There's no doubt that because of the influx of inexpensive bikes that have been coming in from China since about 2013, 2014.
That includes the Yang bike, Mr. Anderson?
Yes, well, they all tend to come from one place, but they're just given different brand names depending on who is selling them.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, it includes all of those small bikes that have flooded the road. They have become the least expensive mode of transport, and so there's no surprise that they are very attractive to persons who want some mobility, cannot afford the protection afforded by a motor car. People die on bikes because their bodies are vulnerable, and in any crash, when you're on a motorcycle, you have absolutely no protection. If you're wearing a proper helmet, and the emphasis was made on an approved helmet that satisfies the laws of Jamaica and several other countries, if it is properly secured on your head, if you are wearing a protective jacket and protective trousers, protective boots, you're more likely to survive a crash on a motorcycle. There's no question about that. And when we have been going into communities, we have been leading a team of persons from several agencies, and in fact, it's financed by the Ministry of National Security. We've been going into communities in Westmoreland and St. Elizabeth for about the last 2.5 years. And we have been distributing helmets and providing training on safe road use. And the police in those areas tell us that they have seen an increase in helmet wearing. And secondly, that none of the people we have trained, because they know who they are, none of the people we have trained have been involved in very serious crashes and certainly no fatalities.
Are those helmets were they given free?
Those helmets were given free. They were given to us by the FIA, and I won't pretend to try and use the French, but it's the World Automobile Association, the motor club.
Standardized helmets.
All right, they have given us some approved helmets, which they sourced in China and which are approved helmets. And people have been using them. And in fact, there's a testimony. There's one gentleman who came to one of our recent sessions in St. Elizabeth. He started out trying to make a complaint that he had been in a crash and his helmet had burst in two. So we asked him to tell his story to the group of trainees. And when he was done, we pointed out that the reason he was alive
Helmet
It's
did its
because
job.
his helmet had absorbed the energy in the crash and had broken in two, but his head was still intact. And you can imagine the impact that made on the people, the audience. He was given a new helmet, and that's one of the points we make too. If you are involved in a serious crash, or not even a serious crash, if your helmet gets impacted in a serious way, whether by a crash or even dropped on the ground from a large height, then it's important that you replace that helmet. Now a helmet costs a few dollars. I mean, helmets are available locally for, $5,000-$6,000, perhaps even less. Approved helmets.
Yeah.
And if people need to know that is what is going to be the primary protection, and they need to invest in their safety.
Mr. Fletcher, I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to make one more point. It's time we stop doing things just because the police are there watching us, but doing it for our own safety, for the benefit of our own families who are going to lose a breadwinner if we get killed on the roads, or worse, if they have to look after. Did I say worse? If they have to look after us for the rest of our lives, providing the medication and the physiotherapy and whatever things that is needed to keep us alive.
Yeah, Mr. Fletcher mentioned about the learner's permit and that matter there. What's your response to that? Overlooked by the government. Yes.
There's no question. Overlooked by government. The law was inadequate. The new law says that if you're driving with a learner's permit, you have to be accompanied by another biker within 6 meters, right? Somebody who has had a driver's license, a motorcycle driver's license for a minimum of 3 years, who is teaching you to drive that motorcycle. I don't know if the police have started enforcing that new act yet. I really don't know. And the yard test that is done by bikers to get a driver's license,
they need to be revamped.
Sorry, I was going to say it's a little more than was described a while ago, because we saw so many people. That's part of the thing, part of what we do when we go out into the communities. We show the police come with us and show bikers how to maneuver the bikes around obstacles and so on. And it is surprising how many of them fail that. And well, of course, it is also interesting that a lot of them, probably about 60% of them, pass on the first go round. Some of them get another chance after further instruction, and they do better. And we do it over 2 days, so they have the opportunity to correct their mistakes and so on. And so it's a little more than just setting out 5 cones and going around those 5 cones. But there's no doubt that better training is needed, and that's one of the things the Island Traffic Authority is to publish a learner driver's manual for motorcyclists. They're working on that now, and hopefully that manual will be published soon. And they are also going to be licensing driver instructor training. That's not ready yet and won't be implemented until the 1st of January next year.
We're out of time.
Right,
Mr. Fletcher, so I just want to give you 20 seconds to respond to anything that was just said a while ago. Sound like good news?
It is all good news, and I am in total agreement. What I would ask Victor to do is to bring us to the table, because we all can put heads together to solve this problem of increasing.
No, wait, you have not been meeting together? You have not been invited to any meeting like that, Mr. Fletcher?
No, we have not. So I personally would love for us to put heads together and to try to figure out and put all our ideas on the table and flesh out how we can solve this problem of indiscipline on our nation's road.
We have to leave it there, gentlemen. We're totally out of time. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a safe day.
All right. Thank you very much, and same to you.
Great. Thank you, listeners, for being with us. For information or get copies of this program, call our production department at 876-968-959-627. This has been the Morning Watch. Thanks to our producer, Kathy Gale, and our guest. Please join Mr. Stokely Marshall next week as he continues to look at the issues of the day. I'm Dylan Toussaint. Hand you back to Love in the Morning with Jokal Dyer.
Over 100 murders in 1 month, Jamaica. We can't continue like this. The killing must end. Do right by the future generation. Get the guns, save our country.
The time brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister is
8 a.m. and a half, and you are now invited to listen to the program Forward in Faith.